Hi, everybody. We are recording the next episode of Ljubljana Talks live from Frankfurt, IMEX, and we have an amazing guest with us, legendary, I can say legendary, Jens Oliver Meyer from Jack Morton. And we are really glad to have you here, actually, Jens. So, Jens, let me start with my first question. What is the zeitgeist of the industry at this particular moment? The zeitgeist of the industry.
Yeah. Of the industry. So the zeitgeist of the industry. First of all, thank you for having me. And calling me a legend makes me really old. You realize that, but that's part of the game. So zeitgeist of the industry. So zeitgeist, obviously, you need to talk about AI. And I believe if you look at why is it zeitgeist, because I don't think as an industry we are there yet. In too many occasions when I look at it, we see AI as a tool that we use to do something with our creative work, to enhance our pitches, to have somebody that writes better than I do. But I believe it becomes also boring because it becomes very similar. And to do an excursion, I hate LinkedIn posts created by AI. I think we need to go with the zeitgeist, and AI needs to become infrastructure for us. It needs to be an underlying system on everything that we do in our industry.
So do you think the events, live events, are going to stay the same? Are they going to change because of AI? What does the AI mean for live events?
So that's what I just meant. It's a tool and it's infrastructure that helps us to create events. It helps us to be better and faster in what we do. The core of events will not change because I do believe, and I'm a strong believer with everything that is going on there out in the marketing world, live events will become more and more important, or as we call it, the experiential marketing part is the most important mix now, because everything becomes so fake, unreal. Life is what you can't fake. So in the core, it will always be about us three meeting here in person. That's what the core is, and that's what will not change.
What I hear is something that I hear also in the luxury segment. They say that, more and more things can be digitalized, optimized digitally. You can take the human element out of so many things like registrations and, offices and how you run a hotel. But when it comes to luxury, it's going to be the human experience. Do you think the same goes for events?
I absolutely think the same goes for events. Yes, and that's the case. Yes, luxury is where you can't take that human element out. And live events is also where you can't take that human element out, because that's what it is all about. This is what makes a event or an experience great, is how do you feel on a personal level? How do you interact with other people? So that is in the core, and I believe will be in the core in the future, and will make our industry even more important moving forward.
But let's go a little bit towards this show here, actually. What is your definition of a great trade show? Not to comment what is here, but, just what is your definition?
I do struggle in general with a lot of trade shows. There is too much noise and too much glitter. So it is about meeting people. It is about, the experience you have. And it starts, again, with the human factor. How welcome do you feel? How seamless is it? I know it's difficult because, you can't unify what you do. It's going to be every exhibitor is doing his own. But as an organizer, I think if you do a trade show, we need to look into how do you unify and make the best experience out of the overall setting. Yes, the individual booth will be designed by the exhibitor, but how can we do more to make that look great, what we do? That starts with venue, that starts with how we fit out the venue, that starts what kind of a carpet we put in the venue, and that starts with how do we work with noise cancellation, how do we spread, how do we go into smaller venues maybe and combine things. But I think there's a lot we can do around trade shows, because trade shows, again, part of live experience, is going to be a very core element of what we do moving forward. But we should look into how can we enhance the general experience at trade shows, because you talk to a lot of people say, oh, I'm so tired because I have to stay here 8 hours in this artificial light and it's so noisy. So what can we do to enhance those experiences?
Good point. I want to ask you, you have a global view on the industry. What is going on actually from Jack Morton's perspective? China, Africa, what are the trends? What are the movements? Yeah.
So what we do see obviously is a shift also. There's a lot of Chinese companies moving in. There's a lot of, exhibitors coming in. If you go to the large auto shows, you see how the Chinese car manufacturers substituting a bit what the Europeans have been, what the American car manufacturers has been. So there is new markets. New market's the wrong word. China has been a market for the past 25 years, but it's still on the rise. And what we also see as a global agency is that there is a push for one size doesn't fit all, because we do a lot of global programs. In the past, there was a push on global programs to unify everything you do in those global programs, to not look in the cultural specifications of each country that you're in. And we see, and that's great, a shift in that now we are a global agency, we have global account leads, and we unify what we do, but we still bring in these local flavors with our local offices, so we can make sure that everything we do is also reflecting the localness. So yes, it's global, but there's also a push for being more local in how you execute things.
So in a way, we are actually very trendy. We are listening to the sounds of Peru as we are talking about Ljubljana, and we are talking about the industry. And it is a very interesting point you made there. I don't know if we could call it personalization, but definitely adaptation to the local market. So because you do a lot of automotive events, how does this reflect in the design of these events? What can you give us a real example of a change like that?
It's tough to go in details on design and how it's localized, but it is not only about the design approach, because obviously design is something that is very stable, and then you do some smaller adjustment and adjusting it to local markets. It's also a lot about ways of working. If you work with a team in China, it is a very different approach how you have to deliver with them than if you work with a team in the US or a team in Europe. So it's not only about how you adapt the design. Adapting is the right word. That is what we do when it's localized. It's also a lot about the ways how we work, how we interact with client, and how we give them the security. Yes, you're working with a global agency. Yes, we look into your global brand and we make sure that's adapted the right way to the local market. But we can also adjust to the way you do operate in those markets. And I believe that's very important in moving forward.
I need to come back to our region, since we are coming from that. What is going on and how do you see potential of New Europe, as we call it, which is actually Eastern Europe, and specifically how you see the Southeast Europe or Central Europe in this, I would say, wider region for your events? What is missing? What is good?
So what is great, if I look into Slovenia, but also look into Croatia or Serbia or as a matter of the Czech Republic or whatever it is in Eastern Europe, the New Europe. What is great, for example, if I look into Slovenia, as we talk here together, is, you have amazing venues, you have amazing hotels, there is gorgeous landscape. I mean, this is such a beautiful country. It's so warm, it's so welcoming. So there are a lot of the settings are absolutely in place. Yes, it does come to some limitations on scale of venue. Obviously, if you do look into the large dealer events, for example, that automotives are doing, why do they go to Spain or other markets? It's the venues that have a certain square meterage where you can do things. And then a second point is, and I know you're aware of that, a lot of those countries lack enough flight connections that brings you there without a big hustle. That is a problem. And that actually we see even in Germany, if you go away from Frankfurt or from Munich. I personally live in Düsseldorf. It's now terrible from Düsseldorf to get anywhere because obviously flights are more limited for very good reasons. But even for us, cannot fly directly to many places as I used to do before the pandemic. I now need to travel by train to Frankfurt, then do another connecting. So it's becoming more complex. So unfortunately, that's probably why this show is here in Frankfurt, because all the internationals have such an easy access. If they would go to Düsseldorf or to Berlin, they most likely would have another connecting flight. If they would go to Slovenia, they would have to have another connecting flight. So there might be a push then on those large international things to venues where you have these perfect international airports that bring you in from everywhere. Although you have enough capacity because you're connected to Frankfurt and you're connected to Vienna, so two major hubs from where you could bring people in from all over the world with one stop at least. Yeah.
Jens, tell us more about BEIC. You're a member of that association, which is growing really with the rapid speed, I would say. What is the advantage of it? How you see the development? Why you are a member, actually? Yeah.
So obviously we're in a bit different position from many other members because we're large ourselves. We're now 1,000+ people at Jack Morton. But for us, it's still very interesting because with the wide reach you get with BEIC, we do have access to countries like Slovenia, we do have countries like Romania, where we do usually not have people on ground. And these are new markets and these are new destinations. So for us, it's great to have this wider network to tap into people. We discussed it yesterday, what's important about this and how do you do international events. And international events has a lot to do with trust, and trust is built by knowing people. It's less about, having 6 projects you've done, but knowing. I can call this person because I have been talking to him. I met him in person. I know who this person is. And that's even for us as an agency internally. That's what we push, that people meet each other. So you build that trust. Oh, this is the guy I call when I go there. And that is what BEIC is giving us as an opportunity to meet those people. And if we go out there and if we need access in those countries, I know exactly who to call and who can help me.
So we could say that in a broader global sense, it is exactly what IMEX is doing as well. This is where you meet your potential suppliers, you keep up the connections. Yeah. So there is a value of this, because we started with AI, we started with the value of meeting face to face, not just digitally. And we've had so many conversations like this. I don't know if you remember 15 years ago when Skype was really big, everybody said, oh, we're just going to have Skype conference calls. It's the end of the industry. Then COVID came. Zoom was the highest had the highest evaluation, of all the tradings. It was higher than any airline. That was kind of funny. And yet we still come back to this. So there is, I think what you said is the essence is trust. Now, this, how do you create this trust? What do you expect of someone to build a trusting relationship with yourself and with the company that you run?
So first of all, as I said, it starts with knowing people. So trust starts with knowing who you talk to. If you had lunch with him or dinner with him or had a glass of wine with him or you've been on an excursion to a destination, you have been talking about your kids and your next vacation, you have a personal relationship to that person. And that's how trust is starting. It's a personal relationship. And then obviously, if it comes to the executional part, it's about transparency, it's about openness, about collaboration. That's what is enhancing the trust, and then it's the delivery. But we mostly work with talented people. So I do believe if things go south on international projects, it's not about people are not being able to do that correctly or people are not working properly. It's mostly about lack of communication, lack of transparency, and lack of collaboration that brings things in trouble on international projects.
I'm pretty confident to say that there's a lot of people that would love to get to meet you, to know you, that are knocking on your door, sending you invitations. How do you respond to that? What's your approach? Because I also know this is the second time you're at IMEX, so
So, to be fairly transparent, it's again about personalization. So I do not respond to generic things that are sent out via LinkedIn that are not you can easily spot if that is a message that is going to 500 people that are out here and fishing, who is going to be, because obviously there is no real interest in that. It's just you go through to the address book, those 600 buyers, I'll send that generic email. If people are reach out directly, and I see this is a real human interaction, I will respond to that, and I either will take the meeting, or if I can't have time and I do not have time, I will decline. But it's a lot about this personal touch. It has to be in there. If it's a generic mail, I usually not respond largely to it.
We were laughing a lot about the Gen Z generation, Can we trust them?
Of course we can trust them. We need to trust them, because otherwise we will be running out of business soon, because we will not have staff that we can hire. We cannot have people that we can hire, because they will kick in. We both need to adjust. They need to adjust to the realities out there, and we need to adjust to their ways of working, obviously. So there is a clash. But this clash has been when your father, my father did work different than I worked. So this is, ages, centuries, this clash is going on. So there's new generations, new ways of working kicking in, and then it mingles, and then both sides adjust to each other, and everything will continue to work. It's not that we will be in a position where we can't suddenly work anymore because a new generation kicks in. No, it's just different, and we have to deal with it.
Very good. We are getting to the end of this conversation. So my last part and Jan's last part will be fire talks, fire questions. Mine is a little bit philosophical, because we started in that way this morning. Think global or act local?
Both.
Both? Can you explain this a little bit more?
Yes. You think global. That's what I mentioned before. We think global. We work with global clients, like with Meta, with Google, but we also execute local. So we do think global, and we look at the global vision of the companies, but we help them to localize that. So that's why it's both. It's global and local.
Ooh, I have so many. I'm just trying to find the right one. Train or plane? Train or plane?
It's depending on the distance, unfortunately. So to Frankfurt, it was train. To Ljubljana, it will be plane. Until the time when they fix the train system across Europe, because if you look into France, there's so many high-speed trains that bring you from the south of France to the north of France that are really competitive to plane. We're not even in that position in Germany. It still takes way too long to get from Düsseldorf to Munich by train. It's amazing to get to Frankfurt. So we need to fix those rail systems in Europe. Then train absolutely will be an alternative to plane.
Hallelujah. I think there's a whole conversation about why airlines don't pay taxes on their kerosene, but electricity for railroad is paid. So, But we will put you in a pickle now. Gorazd has a jar of fortune, and you can pick 3 questions and answer them.
All right. Let me start with the first one. And as you will see, I have to hold the paper way down, because otherwise I can't read the small print here. What is the most exhausting part of this industry? Yeah, I think the most exhausting part is the time pressure that this industry is living in. We're as a large agency, probably that's large agency, small agency, we're in a constant state of pitching and running against very tight deadlines. Also, every project, it's against a very tight deadline. We can't do IMEX tomorrow because we haven't finished it yesterday. So we're always running against deadlines. And this is for our staff, and this is where we need to look into, is really exhausting, and we need to be all very careful about the people we work with to not burn them out by just putting so much pressure on them with all the deadlines that we have to match.
One more?
Sure.
One more, yes.
This one looks good. What instantly tells you an event was designed with care? Actually, it starts with the arrival. We elaborated that a lot when we looked into automotive industry and working with the press at the automotive industry, because as you all know, press events for the automotive industry are very important. That's where they release the new cars. And how we need to look into personalizing things that everybody feels special and welcome when he arrives, that, and it's all of this experience journey. How welcome do you feel? How well crafted the event looks? How well the flow of it is? And I think that's the experience journey from start to the end really tells the most about how well crafted an event is.
Jens, thank you very much for dropping by to do a Ljubljana talk. Thank you very much for all of your friendship for all these years and support. And it was really, really great talking to you today here at IMEX.
Same here. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Stay tuned, and we are coming back with more great content.